What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Truck Parking Clubhouse. I'm your guy, Michael Lombard, aka Lombard Trucking. You can find me anywhere at the internet. Glad to be here with you guys on a Thursday. By the way, we weren't on here Monday night. We specifically had this show scheduled out live stream on here for Thursday afternoon. So if you're a driver or anybody linking the chain right now, definitely share this link. Get them on board. We've got a fantastic interview in front of us. We're excited to have both of these guests on the show to talk about just talk about some straight trucking. So without any further delay, I'm very, very honored and proud to announce Mr. Joseph Costello and Maribeth Knueve from Marten Transport are joining the Clubhouse on this beautiful Thursday. How are we doing?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Great. Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. And, before we dive right into all things Marten Transport, I'd love for you guys to, feel free to introduce yourselves. Maribeth, if you wanted to kick us off.
Sure. Maribeth Knueve, and I'm the Senior Vice President of Sales here at Marten Transport.
Yeah, Joe Costello, Senior Vice President at Marten Transport as well. Been with Marten about 18 years now.
Awesome. So, yeah, both long haulers with Marten Transport.
Yeah, I've been with Marten for 15 years.
Let's go. So experience in the industry. Both of you been with Marten for a long time, but we know that nobody gets into, not a lot of people get into trucking. Some people get into trucking by accident. Sometimes it's on purpose. Sometimes it's family. But how did both of you guys get into the trucking industry?
So I'll go first. I grew up with a dad that was in trucking. He hauled flatbed. And my mom actually worked in trucking too. She worked in payroll at a bulk tanker trucking company here locally in the Columbus, Ohio area. So I always say it's kind of was in my blood, but professionally, I got into the industry back in 2003, started with a company by the name of Pacer Global Logistics. Back in the day, it's now STG here in Dublin, Ohio. From there, pivoted over to the asset side of things, worked for Land Air Transport. And then in 2011, joined Marten, have a background in, operations, sales, recruiting, even some safety and driver orientation, early on in my career. But yeah, it's kind of something that I've always just done. I don't really know anything different.
And Joe? So if you had the opportunity, I got to ask, if you had the opportunity, if all of a sudden some financial firm was like, hey, Maribeth, we really like who you are. You want to leave trucking? What would you do?
Absolutely not. No.
Yeah, I would say it's, I'm addicted to the game now. So I would stay in trucking. It's something different every single day. And the people that you work with, I think super important. And then, the drivers that we work with every day too. It's a never a dull moment in our industry. I think if I did anything different, I'd be bored.
There we go. Joe, what about you? How'd you get into this wild industry?
Mine's not as elaborate as Mary's, I guess. But after I missed my professional athlete calling, I took my time in college, and I originally started out in a nursing program, if you can believe that. So I was going to be an anesthesiologist, and about a year and a half into that, even walked into the counter. I was like, listen, I can't. I'm this blood thing, and just dealing with people to that extent, not going to happen. So I was like, where can I go to the least amount of people graduating so I can be a bigger fish in a smaller pond? And at that time, this is 2002, logistics. Well, okay, what's logistics? And she kind of explained it. What can Brown do for you? I think was the big slogan at that time. So fell into transportation that way, right into the business, Sam M. Walton School of Business here in Arkansas, Fayetteville. So that was the back-ended way I got into it. And once you're in, you're in. I think Mary knows a lot about that, but once you're in, you're in. So
yeah, it's like learning a language. Like once you know this language, it's hard to, like, when you start to deviate from it, or at least what I found out when you associate with people who are, I refer to people outside of trucking because I was in the Marines, and people who weren't in the military are civilians. That's almost how I refer to people not in trucking, as like civilians, like they're regular people, and it's hard to unspeak the language you're so used to speaking every day in trucking. But Joe, professional athlete, where were you headed?
I knew that was going to come up. I did my best to become a baseball player found out I was too slow, not strong enough, couldn't hit the ball far enough, couldn't throw it hard enough. So quickly realized, I guess, and coming out of high school, it wasn't going to happen. So no, you're right, Mike. It's almost uncomfortable as you venture a little bit away from logistics, even in just daily life on the weekends or something. I couldn't sit there and just take an order for 8 hours a day anymore. There's no way. There's absolutely no way to do the same redundant thing over and over and over. Trucking is too complex, something new every day. So it's definitely for me.
Awesome. No, we love to hear it. I mean, both of you got into the industry the way you did, but also both of you wound up at Marten Transport. And I'd love to hear, Maribeth, would love to hear about your journey at Marten, how you got there, and what it's been like your time at Marten.
Yeah. So again, I started in 2011, and at the time I left Landair. I was doing dry van sales in the Midwest. I took on this position at Marten as the Northeast salesperson. I had never, ever really even been to the East Coast before. So it was a little bit of a culture shock for sure. They have a little bit different way of doing business, very, upfront and abrupt, and we're not doing hugs like the Midwestern people do. So it was a little bit of a learning curve, and got thrown into a backhaul market selling refrigerated, which I had no idea what I was doing really at that time. I was just, like I said, Midwest dry van salesperson. But yeah, so started out there in the East Coast. And then from there, actually kind of followed in Joe's footsteps, and he'll explain a little bit about his career, but moved to Chicago and led the sales team there in Chicago, and did that for a while, and became eventually VP of sales in Chicago there. And then in 2016, we started our dry van division, which was awesome. Obviously had a little bit of experience in my previous life on the dry van side, and started the dry van division there out of Edwardsville, Kansas. We started with a couple of trucks, and we're close to 400 today through that dry van division, operating throughout the United States. So actually we're celebrating 10 years of having that dry van business unit this year. So it's an accomplishment and something to look back on, and just reflect on like where we started and where we're at today. So spent some time in dry van, actually oversaw the entire division. So went back into operations for a little bit. I say a little bit, it was 8 years. And then in 2024, assumed this role on the leadership side here at Marten, overseeing sales and marketing nationwide and in Mexico as well. So a little bit of sales ops for 8 years, and then back on the sales side of things.
That's awesome. That's an incredible journey, and the best part is, I think what's really great is that you've been able to do it on the same team the whole time. Some people's careers, they'll kind of they'll have those touch points, or they'll wear a couple hats with different companies. You've been able to do it with Marten as it's grown. That's phenomenal. Joe, what about your journey with Marten Transport?
Yeah, the older we get, we start talking in years and decades. So
it's depressing.
It's tough.
It really is. She said 10 years, and I'm like, so no, it's a lot of the same. Moved around to several different markets within Marten. I did start at Marten in Dallas, Texas, and then moved up to Chicago, LA, all in the sales role. Started as more or less field sales, went on to director level, and then VP, and then of course SVP level of sales. And now I'm on the operations side in our new division, SLS, Specialized Logistics Solutions. But honestly, I did start with another company. I was with them for about 1.5 years, and followed a mentor over here. Tim Cole was my mentor. He hired me out of college, and Adam Phillips he hired me out of University of Arkansas. So really followed those two over to Marten Transport, and it's all about the people. Honestly, I don't know that I could do what I do today without the people that I'm surrounded by. Maribeth included. So.
I think we always say it matters the people in the trenches. What do you always say, Joey? Like, couldn't do it without the same people, but people that are in the trenches.
The trenches are hard enough, but when you're in with the right people, it doesn't feel as encompassing. So, but that's really how that's how I've grown through it. And now I'm here in Arkansas. I was very fortunate. Martin was fortunate enough to allow me to move back home as long as I'm within arm's length of an airport. You know, it really doesn't matter too much where I live because I'm on the road so much. But it's well worth it to be surrounded by these type of people.
That's awesome. It's so for both of you actually with where you're currently at. Like, what is your day to day look like? Like for you, Mary Beth, you know, you're running sales and marketing. What's a typical day kind of look like for you?
I would say no day's the same, right? Like I said at the beginning, it's something different every single day. But for the most part, like Joe, you know, I'm out on the road. This is actually the first week I've been home in probably the last 9. I don't know. I start to lose track.
What year is it?
Yeah, I keep talking about June being like, oh, when June happens or this in June. And I'm like, oh, June's in like less than like 10 days, right? Like the time flies. But no, day to day, you know, when I'm not at home, I'm out on the road with our sales team. We have, like I said, a sales team across the United States and in Mexico. So I'm out in the field, working with our sales team, seeing our customers, going to our terminals, you know, working with our operations group. And then, you know, when I'm home, I'm just trying to catch up on all things that, you know, don't get done when you're out on the road and, you know, sun up to sundown type of lifestyle out there on the road. So
moving and going. Joe, what about you? What's your day to day look like? I know you're doing a lot of traveling, but yeah, where do your conversations take you?
Yeah, you know, if you saw my calendar, it's just block after block after block. It's like a Tetris game. But I also you know, if you remember, I don't know how maybe this is making me really old. Tasmanian Devil. You remember that cartoon?
Oh yeah,
the way he moves, that's my day. And he's just taking out everything in its path. So it's you know, you really got to prioritize. There's just so many things going on and so many factors that are attached to trucking, you know, the backbone of the economy, really on what we do. So it's everything plays into it, and you really just gotta. It's an early to rise and late to bed type situation every day. So you do the best you can to prioritize it. I think Mike Tyson said everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. So
something like that.
That's
I always
That's
describe Joe as the bull in the china shop. If you could picture that, that's Joe's day.
You're welcome, Mike.
No, I love it. That's great. I'd love to, you know, both of you been at Marten for some time, so you're a part of Marten's history. But you know, I have, you know, my last name above me, but I didn't, you know, that name is something I didn't get it by accident, anyways. And you know, I'm very proud of my family's name. They, you know, used to run a historic motor carrier, and Marten Transport's a historic motor carrier in itself. And so I'd love, I mean, both of you have been there for a long enough stint, I feel like, to be able to, you know, you wear the Marten jersey proud. Your tenure there speaks for itself. I'd love to hear the Marten story and kind of the history of how Marten's, you know, where they started from and what it's evolved into today.
Yeah, so I can start with that, and Joe can elaborate. We were founded in 1946 by our founder, Roger Marten. He started with a single milk truck delivering dairy products in rural northwest Wisconsin, small town Modena, then eventually moved to where we're publicly, or our corporate headquarters is at now in Mondovi. And from there, we've just grown. In 1986, we became a publicly traded company. And over the years, we've expanded to an international transportation and logistics leader. Like I said, you know, we operate throughout North America, Canada, Mexico, and we have 15 terminals across the United States today. And this year is a really special year for us because we are celebrating our 80th year, our 80th anniversary. So that's a huge accomplishment in this industry. As you know, it's not easy. You know, we've have a great foundation that was set by Roger Marten and Randy, and then the people today. Joe and I talk about, you know, what is our North Star? And I think our North Star, and I think everybody here at Marten would agree with me, is our people. And I think that speaks in our tenure. You know, I say, you know, I've been at Marten for 15 years. It feels like a long time, but, you know, I'm really someone that is like the baby at Marten. 15 years is not a lot when you're talking to people that have been here for 30 plus years. So we're rich in our history. Started off very small, like I said, and have expanded to this, transportation leader today. So it's really special to be able to celebrate our 80th anniversary this year for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. 80 years. I mean, you're talking about navigating through some of the best and just some of the probably the most challenging times of the industry. I think the best. I mean, you figure start opening in 1946. It said right by Roger Marten,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean 1946. That's the best time. This is right after the Second World War. This is a great time for the economy. The country's infrastructure was still standing, unlike a lot of parts of the world. It was a great time for the United States, and I think we saw that. And then there was you're talking about navigating the Arab oil embargo, the Motor Carrier Act of 1980, the market changes, and then approaching technology entering the industry, the ELD mandate, and then now moving forward in the COVID markets. I mean, to survive the last 80 years is definitely you've had to ride the good times for a bit, but you've also had to rely on the people to get through the bad times. So it's really awesome to see how Marten's been able to navigate that, especially kind of walking into today's market reality, so to speak. And I'd love to hear you guys talk about especially from both of you, about how you've kind of how you've been able to push through. A lot of people have been sounding the alarms the last several years, since 2022 timeframe is really when things started to kind of roll downhill, and we've had carriers sound the alarms. It's all over freight waves, but Marten, you guys have been able to kind of push through. What's the market reality been like for you guys in the post-COVID world?
Joe, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'll take that. Really, it's capacity isn't constrained by a truck; it's constrained by its qualified drivers, Mike. I would argue that it's even pre-2022. I know that that's a milestone in time in the industry. We're all living history as we speak. But even before then, I mean, trucking is not. Nobody stands up in their 5th grade class and says, "I want to be a truck driver" when they grow up. So just getting the buy-in and moving a company forward. Is extremely tough, and in the trucking industry, and you're always typically knock on wood, one accident away, right? So it's just the demand necessarily right now. It's about building up available capacity that is tightening out there, and so we're just we're doing our best right now today to build that up for ourselves and for our customers. So you've got a lot of factors, Mike. I know you hit on some pre 2022 factors there, but you got a lot of enforcement going on, as I'm sure you're well aware. The CDL eligibility changes and the chameleon carrier crackdowns and the school closures and reducing the qualified driver pool. Some of the visa challenges that everyone's seeing. I mean, Marten has done again, one of the reasons I work here, just the vetting approach that we take to qualified drivers to put ourselves in the most safe possible situation for ourselves and our customers is just it's top class, no question, best in class. So rising insurance, another cost that just cannot go away. I know we all live that every day in our normal lives. I mean, it's tenfold when you're in a trucking company. So it's there's just honestly there's probably too many factors to talk about, and I feel like there's more cons than pros when you're going through that. But there is a structural shift right now in how capacity is being allocated and honestly being defined. There's a lot of times, it's capacity is not just it's not just a truck. It's not a commodity. Unfortunately, it's treated as such a lot of times. But there's actually a human being. There's a qualified driver behind that wheel. Especially at Marten Transport. So. Hope that helps outline a little bit as to what we're dealing with. Mary, any additions to that?
No, I would say that you covered it all, and I just think that the reality of the situation is that this year I think we'll look back in history and be like, okay, 2026 was a pivotal year. We have all of these things that are going on every single day that we see about in the news and freight waves, and now The chameleon carrier crackdown is the biggest thing. And we know that if you've been in the industry, you know that's been going on, but it's just now being brought to the, American home watching a Dateline episode on a Sunday evening, and this is real capacity leaving the market. And the qualified driver pool that you're talking about, Joe, it's shrinking. And I think that's the biggest thing that's going to outlast everything else, right? Everything else will stabilize, the fuel, everything, right? But the qualified driver, to what you said, like, we're not asking our kids to go to truck driving school. Since we've been in the industry, we've heard about this driver shortage. Okay, yeah, for decades we can say. But the reality is that we are not asking our kids to go to truck driving school. We're pushing them to go to college or do a trade school or whatever. And then the older drivers, they're retiring. It's that demographic of drivers that are getting to that retirement age, and then that just puts pressure on the pool of qualified drivers. So I think that's instrumental in our industry, and I think that's going to be. That's what we're seeing now, right? It's not demand. Demand's not up. Like maybe this week, right? Because we're leading into Memorial Day. That's typical for every holiday. But demand overall is not up. It's the quality of driver pool that's continuing to shrink. And then as a big safe carrier as Marten and our peers, we're all trying to fight after the same qualified safe drivers. So it's becoming very competitive on the driver side. So it's
as you know, Mike, none of it works without the drivers, right? So they're the most important role. That's why Mary and I are here, is to support them.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys bring up a lot of great points that I think these are areas these are hotspot areas. People are always talking about it. One of the biggest things you mentioned, and I definitely want to get to the driver portion in a little bit, especially with retention issues and talking a little bit about parking. But you brought up insurance, and insurance has been, I was just at I was at committee meetings for the Texas Trucking Association not too long ago. And, there's the biggest thing right there for 100 to 200 truck fleet is, their insurance going up it could be what drives them out of business. We're talking about 100 to 200 truck fleet, and if they're worried about their insurance because they're not big enough, they can't be self-insured. They don't have they're not equipped to be self-insured. They're not at that size. And then, so it's like they're in this kind of like purgatory almost of where they're at with insurance wise. And so it's not, if there's even one, if there's one accident, and this is, 200 truck fleet, it takes a lot to get to 200 trucks. That's no easy feat to do.
Yeah, no, it's a great feat in itself.
It's hard. Yeah.
And, one accident or for the insurance policy to go up, if that's going to teeter you over, we're seeing a tough market. And what has it been like insurance wise for you guys navigating through that? Because that's been a tough one.
Yeah, and it's not even, honestly, it's not even the accident itself. It's the requirements of those liabilities anymore that have gone up themselves. You can have the safest drivers, and the onus of the company, of the trucking company, the carrier, to just have the liabilities that the shippers are asking anymore. Is a cost within itself, regardless of even having an accident. Although once you have an accident, the costs are up 20-30% in itself. Just paying for the cost of material for X. Forget if someone is actually injured. I'm talking about just actual trucking replacement costs and whatnot. So it's outstanding. It's egregious in a lot of ways, and it's not sustainable.
No, 100%. And to kind of bridging from that, how I'm curious the size of Marten. How many trucks and trailers do you guys have?
Yeah, right. Go ahead, Mary.
Oh no, go ahead, Joe.
Right now we're up over 2,300 in trucks, and trailer count specifically, I guess temp and dry, over 4,500, 5,000 might be over 5,000 only this count. But that's a constant moving target. Yeah, if you asked us tomorrow, we'd be a different number. Our growth efforts are far larger than that. But the point there is, again, the qualified driver hires and the retention levels. We do our best to retain with qualified freight, where we don't have to put them in liable situations, drag on their hours of service. Of course, we do our best to provide them the best freight possible with the most consistency as possible. We don't chase spot freight. We're after providing them as much of a 8 to 5, Monday through Friday life that as we can give them. Trucking is not easy. We all know that. Nights and weekends, erratic hours that they have to work, and really feel for them on that scenario. Again, why nobody stands up in 5th grade and is highlighting wanting to become a truck driver. You typically hear more of the cons than the pros.
That's a lot of equipment you got. That's a lot of drivers you've got. And I love you mentioned hours of service, because I was going to ask you, it's a lot of trucks, it's a lot of trailers. That's equipment. It's equipment that needs to find itself some safe parking. I'm sure you've heard from your drivers that parking's been kind of an issue. And and then I also know, but you also just touched on how you're not chasing spot freight. You're working with a lot of customers. You're trying to take the best care of your customers as you can. And I know that, you had been able to work with Truck Parking Club on kind of helping you out on that front, with the location of ours up in Wisconsin for a set of equipment you have. And so I'd love to hear about how you've been able to incorporate Truck Parking Club into your drivers, quality of life at work, and how it's been helping you, be able to show up for your customers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was able to meet with Evan Shelley and Brent Hudo at BCS in middle of February. From there, we extended our conversations, which were highly around it, the trucking industry, some government affairs, and obviously your Truck Parking Club opportunities and services. From there, we extended into conversations about some a yard or two in Wisconsin that we were looking for. That was a specific need at the time. From there, we were able to work with John and Chris and the team there, and phenomenal opportunities that they were bringing to us in terms of like just the detail, the level of detail they were bringing was really next level. They were bringing drone photos. They were bringing a ton of detail in terms of the quality of the yard, details surrounding the security level, obviously the payment terms, things to that extent. Some of them were a little bit more creative because we were looking for a larger solution that took a little bit more kind of creativity surrounding it, just because of the size we were looking for and the location we were looking for. But ultimately, we're able to settle on a 25 truck and trailer spot location up in Wisconsin. So that's a long-term deal for both of us. So a lot of a great experience. Honestly, it was a really good experience, and closer to Evan and Brent specifically. Love those guys to death, and can't say enough about you guys over there.
No, that's awesome. And that location up in Wisconsin, was that for a specific customer offhand, or was that just mainly for drivers and their kind of where they're navigating, or where you wanted to place equipment?
Yeah, it was drawn by a customer need, but ultimately it was for the drivers, so we could support them and the domicile in which the proximity of where they were located in terms of the where they needed to get in service ultimately. So we try to do that to provide a spot for both their personal vehicles, obviously protection of our equipment when they're not in the vehicle. So it's mostly a Marten standard. Every time we lead into a need like that. So we definitely look for those security levels and want to protect the driver's personal items at the same time. So,
well, I got to tell you, it's incredible to hear, and I think it's great for drivers, especially to hear about a carrier like Marten, who you were able to do both things. You were able to take care of a customer, and you were able to take care of the drivers at the same time. And I think that's a mentality. I think that that's better for the industry. And when you're able to do both, it's very difficult to be able to do both. But Marten Transport seems to be able to put that in front of mind, and so I think that's something that's very well accomplished. I think it speaks to the testament of being around for 80 years.
For sure. Yeah. You can't have one without
the other.
And
I would give you guys props as well. You guys are, yeah. And I'd give you guys props as well, Mike. You guys are onto something here with the truck parking. It secures, it gives the drivers a safe haven, secures the equipment. We just talked about insurance costs and what that could do. parking in random locations is not preferred for anybody, let alone being out on the, away from your family. So,
which I was going to
what
add.
you guys are doing.
Oh no, we appreciate it greatly, and I feel. I mean, you don't have to answer this, but I'd imagine Marten Transport, you don't want your drivers parking on off ramps, correct?
Correct.
No.
We do
No,
not
sir.
want that. No, not at all.
Yes, and that's the last place you want them seen, and that's what we're definitely working to we definitely want to work to be putting an end to all ramp parking once and for good, because you don't want your drivers there. Drivers don't want to be on those ramps, and
No.
giving them more options and opportunities, especially through fleet deals, helps out. But kind of moving on to this last step, I'd love to take a minute to really highlight your drivers, because I mean, without drivers, there really is no Marten Transport. And so I'd love to hear about, I mean, I believe we were talking before this, you guys have recently received an award. So I'd love for you touch on, Marten Transport. You've been saying, I don't know how many times I've counted, but you talk about qualified drivers all the time, which is really important. And you consider your drivers very well qualified. You tell your customers that. So I'd love to hear more about them.
Yeah. So, I'll just start with like hiring qualified drivers. We only hire 1.6% of drivers that apply to Marten. So it's a very unique club, if you will, to be in. We take it seriously. We have to, for all the reasons that we've talked about. So we are hiring the top tier of drivers out there. I'm a little biased, but I think that we have the best drivers here at Marten. Again, it goes back to our people, right? We're, as leaders, as ops people, safety, maintenance, whoever you come in contact with, we're all accessible, right? For our drivers. From being in dry van, I still have drivers that call me today, and we catch up and chit chat. So it's the accessibility that we provide. It's the hiring standards that we have, that I think, just a few reasons why I think that we have the best drivers. But we offer a lot of great things too. We offer some of the newest equipment, some of the newest safety features, comp plans, health insurance benefits, all the things, right? But the award that you were referring to was recently just awarded for 2026. So we were awarded TCA Elite Fleet Best Place to Drive for, not only in 2026, but in 2025. So we've received this award 2 years in a row now. And the TCA Elite Fleet Best Place to Drive award is not anything that we do from a corporate standpoint. We engage with the award to get the survey out to our drivers. But this award comes from our drivers and the feedback that they provide, the TCA. So it's solely based on their feedback. And we've now received that 2 years in a row. So I think that we're obviously doing something right. We also are a member of WIT, which is the Women in Trucking Association. And we were named in 2025 one of the top trucking companies for women to work for too. So, those two awards were something that we're, proud of at Marten. And we'll continue to do all of the things that we do behind the scenes to make one of the best places for drivers to work at in the industry.
That's awesome. Incredible. Congratulations on that award. Joe, did you have anything you wanted to follow up with?
No, I mean, we numerous awards every year from customers as well. And I would highlight again, or kind of support what Mary said there, is that, we don't go out and try to win these awards. These are just our top line standards that we push ourselves on every day, that then come out and shine through an award is how that really comes about. So, the award is the outcome, but the behind the scenes is so much greater than that.
Absolutely. And I'd love, this is a great time to also get it out there. I mean, you're obviously, you're looking for qualified drivers now, correct? You mentioned how capacity is not the trucks, it's the qualified drivers. Yeah. Pitch a little recruitment now for anybody who might be looking for their next home, where they might want to drive for. What are the qualifications they've got? What are the perks? What are the hiring locations? Kind of that certain little recruitment.
Yeah, so I think the great thing about Marten is that we have jobs for everybody. We have local jobs, we have regional jobs, we have dedicated jobs. We still have an OTR fleet, which is, your long haul fleet, the drivers that are out for a long period of time. And that's by choice. There's some drivers out there still on the road today that like that. I don't even call it a job. It's a lifestyle. They like that lifestyle. They like to be out on the road. But we have jobs listed at www.driveformarten.com. All of our freight's very driver friendly. A lot of our freight's drop and hook. I talked about the accessibility to our operations team, the execution and the support that we deliver to our drivers every single day, I believe is top notch. And really, coming from the sales side of things, Joe and I both have spent a lot of time in sales here at Marten. Our goal when we sit down with a customer and then take the lanes or the business or the profile back to operations is to sit down with operations and pricing and create jobs that drivers want through our regional networks and through our dedicated fleets. We know that this job's hard. There's a reason why I'm not doing it. I can't imagine what these drivers go through every single day. But we sit down as a group and we really work with everyone to create those jobs, to find synergies between one customer and another, so we can create predictability, so we can create that sense of that home time where they know that they're going to be home. They're not going to miss out on, family events or whatever, to drive that predictability, to be home on the weekends with their families, right? Like I said, we have 15 terminals across the United States. We're a very regionalized company. So our drivers within those regions do get home a good amount. And that's why we have the regional networks, right? So they can get it. They can go through a terminal if they need to see their operations team. They can get home, whatever. They're not, if an emergency happens, they're not, 4 days out. They're, a day out or, a half a day out. So really everything can be found at driveformarten.com. They can go to that website. They can connect with a recruiter. They can scroll through all of the different business units that we have. Obviously, we have, the regional opportunities, but we have, regional opportunities within our refrigerated side and regional opportunities within our dry van side. And then we have all of the dedicated opportunities there too, and several local positions. I know if there's any drivers listening today in Columbus, Ohio, we're looking for qualified drivers here for one of our dedicated fleets, and we would love to have you.
That's awesome. What I'm not sure if you had touched on it. You mentioned Columbus, Ohio for local, but what are some of those hiring locations or zones? Is it primarily Upper Midwest, any in Texas?
It's wherever we have a terminal. So across the United States, you can go to that driveformarten.com and see where we're at regionally. But just big scope, West Coast, we have 2 facilities that we have operating centers out of, and that's Phoenix and Wilsonville, Oregon. And then, moving east, we have Kansas City or Edwardsville, Kansas, Dallas, Texas, Laredo, Memphis, Indianapolis, of course, our fleet's based out of Mondovi. And then we have, going more east into the southeast, Atlanta, Tampa, Richmond, Virginia, Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and then obviously dedicated fleets all throughout the country. So those cities that I just named are where our terminals are at. I don't think I missed one, but hopefully I didn't. But yeah, so I mean, really across the United States, unless if you're in like North Dakota, probably we don't have any jobs there. But yeah, in most major areas, we have job opportunities for sure.
Awesome, good stuff. So if you guys, driveformarten.com. So is it
the
drive?
Number 4. Yeah.
Number 4.
So drive the number 4 Marten.com. Yeah.
Wonderful. Good to know. And then last thing I believe you wanted to touch on some SLS stuff that you wanted to go on when it comes to non-asset solutions.
Yeah, that's all Joe. It's our newest division.
Yeah, no, thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. So SLS, Specialized Logistics Solutions, is a non-asset based division. What we are is we're focused on specialized opportunities with our customers. It's an additional solutions package on top of or extended, I should say, from our current asset base, and it provides opportunities to the customers in form of solution that we typically haven't provided in the past. So in terms of specialized opportunities, flatbed, Canada, heavy haul, excuse me, we're doing straight box or straight box truck or straight truck opportunities now. LTL will expand into LTL as well. You'll see some drayage opportunities, some port dray opportunities. So it's really a build out of just specialized commodities are a focal point for us too, high value included. I mean, I could go on the list of opportunities. Ultimately, what we want is for this to build out into opportunities into managed business as well, so that we're conducting the RFP for the shipper or customer. We're managing their POs from cradle to grave, and the billing process, the tendering, everything all the way through the process itself. So, we've got the experience. We've talked about 80 years here, numerous times. So the experience level's there. We're absolutely integrating with customers' systems as well, so that we can help build out that a lot of API integration. I know is a big thing now, obviously with the automation and some of the AI conversations going on out there. But we're available to build out through that as well, and just provide all the technology requirements that these customers are looking for. And if we don't have it now, then we'll go out. We can bolt select opportunity or solutions on as well. So we're up right now, Mike. We started around 25, 50 loads a week. We're up to upwards of 200 a week now, and we look to build this out into its own standalone division.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, to trying new things in this, because we were just talking about market realities, and to try new things as people are putting out fires, I think is I think it's a great way to trailblaze ahead. And we'll have to keep in touch to see how those growing pains, see how everything is with that. And so, I mean, if anybody, who would be the typical customer for the LinkedIn crowd? Who would be somebody you'd be reaching out to about it?
The list is pretty long. It's shorter to talk about who's not, just simply because really, there's, whether it's inbound, outbound, you're talking raw materials, finished goods, we've really got a solution across the board for any select customer. So Mexico, Canada, we've got a diverse portfolio of services to offer with that.
That's awesome. Looking forward to seeing how you're able to develop that, especially going into 2026, 2027. That's gonna be some fascinating stuff to see.
Appreciate that, Mike. And I would add too, it's kind of understood that Marten, it's backbone of the food and beverage industry, but no, this extends into the construction industry, manufacturing industry. You're talking about all new industries as well. So this is not just siloed to food and beverage.
Oh, that's awesome. I did have the last question, because you are an international company, and I'd love to, only because I'm inundated with a lot of cross-border freight across my timeline from our friends at Cargado, who are always talking cross-border freight. So they do a really good job.
Just talked to them yesterday, actually.
Yep, they do a great job of evangelizing people to call them about cross-border freight. So I'd love to. I mean, navigating cross-border freight, is there has that created any sort of challenges for you? Has it been easy? What are kind of the moving parts of that, especially going from, because I'm assuming you're probably working with some freight that originates in Mexico. Its final destination is Canada as well, and so I mean, and especially how that looks with making sure everything gets from point A to point B. I mean, how's it been navigating cross-border freight?
Yeah, that's a very diverse question, but on the Mexico side, we've been doing that for decades, so we're very familiar with the process. We do cross our trailers into Mexico, so we do provide a door-to-door solution for Mexico origin or destination business. From there, we can take care of the full process of crossing. Working with the forwarders, we are CTPAT certified. and we can provide all of the logistics to visually tracking those shipments as well. On the Canada side, we are a big partner with Border Connect, so it makes the process very seamless. We are integrated with all of those custom regulations as well. Right now, we're doing upwards of about 25 to 30 Canada loads a week, whether it's originating or destination for Canada. So we have the opportunity. Now, that's all non-asset into Canada, but we do manage that process all the way through as well. So it can be complex for the customer. We make it very seamless. Again, with the high level of tracking and information we provide, it's very seamless for the customer. And we're experienced in what we, in doing so. We've been doing this again for decades, so we're very used to that coordination.
Awesome. That's great. Great to see how you've navigated. This has been an incredible story. Really honored to have both of you on here, especially to talk all things Marten Transport. Would love to leave the last couple minutes for you guys. Any closing thoughts, words? Normally at the end of a live stream, what I ask a driver is, I ask a couple questions. What's an issue in the industry that needs to be fixed? We've already talked about some of the issues going on. Qualified drivers, the changing landscape between CDL enforcement. We've kind of touched on those things. So I always ask anybody, any driver, I'm like, hey, what's your advice for anybody looking to get into the industry? So the question I would ask you guys for a little bit of closing thoughts or last remarks is, what advice do you have for anybody in the industry right now? Like if you're, say you're talking, if you were talking to maybe not necessarily a competitor of yours, but if you were to offer some advice to a small fleet owner or somebody or just anybody working in this industry, what would be your guys' kind of little bit of 5-minute elevator wisdom knowledge that you'd lay on somebody?
I will say, invest in your people, invest in the right people, and results and success will follow. I think that just ties it back to what I said at the very beginning is, your North Star, our North Stars are people. And we wouldn't be here today without the people, driving the trucks, the people running the operation, the people in the back office, people maintaining our trucks, et cetera. Everyone here involved at Marten. So, that's my advice, find your people, build a good team, and success will follow.
Yeah, I would echo that, Mike. People, you can't speak enough about people and those types of, that human capital is critical. The second to that is discipline, right? You got to be disciplined in what you do. We're disciplined every day. Inspect what you expect. I know it's a cliche, but it's absolutely the truth.
Discipline. Expect what you can expect.
Inspect what you expect. So it's,
inspect.
Yeah, inspect what you expect. You gotta be measurable and be disciplined to track and stay organized with that. They can get away from you very quickly, and without that is loss of control of your business.
That's awesome. Well, hey, I want to thank both of you guys for coming on the Clubhouse to share the Marten story, share your guys' story. I think it's incredibly valuable to hear from all links in the chain, especially people who've been doing it right and people who've been doing a good job, who seemingly who are treating drivers right, who are taking care of both drivers and customers. And I say this whenever we wrap up one of our Clubhouse live streams is, Marten Transport, just from talking to you for the last 49 minutes, clearly you guys are a company that want to leave this industry better than you found it. And that's why we at Truck Parking Club love to work and highlight individuals such as yourself, because that's exactly what we're doing at Truck Parking Club, is to try to help leave this industry better than we found it by helping truckers save time and fuel by instantly reserving truck parking nationwide. So I want to thank you guys for jumping on the Clubhouse on this beautiful Thursday. I hope you have a great Memorial Day weekend out there. You guys stay safe. And to everybody who tuned into the Clubhouse, I want to give you guys a big shout out. And we will see you on Memorial Day, Monday night, 7:30 p.m. But until then, stay safe, hammer down.